Welcome to Above the Mark, where we take you from the soil to the office and everywhere in between.
We're your hosts, Jack and Troy, bringing you real conversations on farm leadership, rural life, and the big issues shaping modern agriculture.
Whether you're knee-deep in the field or just ag curious, there's something here for you.
So let's dig in and aim a little higher.
All right, well, we're back with another episode of Above the Mark. Jackie, how you been?
Fantastic, Troy. You?
Well, we are progressing in the summer. Fairs are done, I think, and hopefully slow down a little bit before harvest. But I think harvest is
I don't think you're going to get much of a break.
already taken away. Guys are chopping and things are happening, and just another lovely day at the Laddie campus.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, how are the grain markets?
Well, I'm nobody's friend right now.
I had to throw that in there.
Yeah.
No, we're here today. We have a very special guest, I think. Stephen is here with Growers, and I know most people probably won't know what I'm saying when we say Growers. There is some confusion at times. When I say Growers, people will think we're talking about farmers, but I've been telling guys, if you look at some of our ads that say Landmark Maxx and it says powered by Growers underneath of it, that's what we're talking about, right? So, Stephen, you're with Growers. So give us an introduction, a little bit about yourself, where you come from, where you call home.
Sure. Yeah. Well, first of all, Troy, let me just say that's the first time I've ever heard anybody give me that feedback that Growers is confusing as a company name. So thank you for that. We'll be sure to make sure that
we're going to change the name.
Yeah, we're going to change the name because you gave us that feedback. So anyway,
yeah.
We have heard that a time or two.
I'm sure.
Believe it or not. So, but anyway, first of all, happy to be here. Thank you guys for having me on. So just to give you a little bit of background about me before I get into, Growers. So I grew up in Georgia, went to the University of Georgia. I actually didn't get the privilege of, working on a farm growing up. Actually, believe it or not, and maybe I shouldn't say this, but I will. I really didn't even have much appreciation for agriculture growing up. And, in Georgia, agriculture is everywhere. It's the heritage of the state. But really, I just didn't get much of an introduction. My family wasn't involved in it whatsoever. And so actually, it wasn't until I got to college where I started gaining some appreciation for agriculture. Right. So I was in the School of Agriculture and things like that. And then I got the privilege of starting my career in the co-op system when I was actually still in college. And so I actually spent the next 16 years of my career working for a co-op.
So what made you go into agriculture if you didn't have a background in agriculture?
Well, actually, the story goes, I joined a
We're not going to fact check you.
Yeah, well, so it's kind of interesting. I actually ended up joining the agriculture fraternity at the University of Georgia, AGR. And I really joined AGR because of the guys that were in the fraternity, not because they're affiliated with agriculture.
Yep.
And so, but once you join that organization, you get deeply rooted in agriculture, right? And so that's actually how it started. And I started out in engineering, and I figured out after my first year that everyone else was having a lot of fun, enjoying their college life. Yet I was not.
It was not your thing.
It was not. And so I decided to change my major second year in to agricultural business. And so just further ingrained in agriculture and that kind of thing. So that's really kind of how I started. No magical, great epiphany that I had at any point. It was just really more or less the fraternity.
Yeah.
AGR.
Well, I think that turned out good for you.
Yeah. It's been a fantastic career.
So you get out of college, you said you go into retail then?
Yeah, went into retail.
Okay. And how long were you doing that?
So I spent 16 years doing some form of retail. So I started out in an internship program and then went into a training program and then actually ran my first plant back in 2009. Took over a facility that was, about $15 million worth of a revenue business, and actually grew it quite a bit over the next 3 or 4 years. And then I went into full-time sales. The funny thing was, I was plant manager of this facility. Probably, if I was there for 4 years, I was probably plant manager for those 4 years, and 4 years too many. Because what I found out was my passion was not in operations, and in fact, I was not very good at operations.
So you knew early on sales is where you needed to be.
Absolutely. And by God's grace, someone else decided that I needed to be in sales more quickly than I did. So they put me in full-time sales, which is where I really found my passion, working with farmers directly, and seeking solutions for the challenges that they faced, every day on their farm. So anyway, I spent the next probably 7 or 8 years in full-time sales dealing with farmers. And then, so the co-op that I was working for at the time, they had no sales leadership in place. And so they created a new structure where, they created these, what they called area sales leads. So that you had some sales leadership in the field. And so I took on, the inaugural role there, and kind of just worked my way up through, the sales leadership program. And so spent the last 7 years of my career there leading our sales team. And so really enjoyed, getting to shape and develop, sales processes, sales people, and things like that. And so anyway, just enjoy that whole thing.
Okay.
Great.
So then you were there, and how do we end up to here?
Yeah. So long story there too, but I'll try to shorten it, Troy. But so our CEO here at Growers is a guy named Stephen Valenson. And Growers is based out of Durham, North Carolina. And so, I worked in the Carolinas, as a manager and a salesperson and then sales leader. And then I moved to Richmond, Virginia, where I currently live about 5 years ago. And so I had the privilege of getting to know Stephen about 15 or 16 years ago, early on in my career. Funny story about Stephen and my relationship and the way we connected was when I was running my first plant. This kid walks in, as I'm the manager, and he comes in and he says, "Hey, I'm starting a new soil testing lab in North Carolina, and I would really like for you guys to send us your soil samples." And we were doing a tremendous business around soil sampling and precision ag and things like that. And the funny thing is, in North Carolina, the NC State, the land grant institution, actually does analysis on soil samples for free for farmers. And so, not to mention, in that industry, it's a very competitive, tight margin business. And I just thought, this kid has lost his mind.
Yeah.
What is he doing?
He has literally lost his mind to think that you're going to open a soil lab when the state does it for free, and you're going to charge farmers to do that, and you're going to be profitable. You're crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't tell him that. I should have. But that was my first interaction with him. And it was so intriguing to me that he was willing to do that I kind of followed his career. And so, interestingly enough, he actually started the lab, ended up selling the lab a few years later for profit. He did really well managing that business, and I would have never expected. So then when he sold the lab, it became the genesis of what we call Growers today. And so what Stephen started it back in 2013 as more of a services business where it was all around precision ag. So the team was all built into figuring out high-tech solutions, to pull more advanced things in precision. And I'd said we had a great business in precision ag at the co-op, bigger than my location. Well, Stephen then became a competitor, and when he was doing it, he was charging probably 2 or 2.5 times what we were charging on a per acre basis for the similar offerings, not the same, but similar. And I thought, once again, this guy has lost his mind. There is no farmer that's going to be willing to pay that kind of money for what he's offering. Sure enough, he ends up going and taking that business nationwide, where they're pulling samples all across the country at these prices. And I just thought, this guy's doing something different. And I couldn't put my finger on what it really was. And so it compelled me to, again, follow his career. And so he and I had ran into each other several different times throughout the years, and we'd have conversations about, how things are going and things like that. And he shared a lot of the insights that he was learning. And then when I became sales leader for the co-op, by that time, Stephen had advanced the business beyond just precision services and started developing technology solutions. And really, he started developing that to help the precision ag business. But what he found was the technology that he was creating for the business actually would benefit retailers and manufacturers alike, right? But he had to go sell that and make sure that they understood and articulate the value of how it could be helpful, right? And so he started pitching some of the technologies to me at the co-op, and so. The technology was always very compelling, very intriguing that the growers teams came up with, and I just thought this is very interesting stuff because it was something that was really everything that they came with was revolutionary in my mind to the industry. Right, it was advanced beyond off the shelf solution that someone could get from just a generic software producer, right? And so I was always very intrigued, but probably the thing that just made me actually end up with Growers was Stephen came and pitched the loyalty program offering to me, and at that time, as a sales leader at the co-op, I was really experiencing a lot of problems with one, churn of employees, right? Ag retail is tough.
Yes, it is.
For folks that's never lived that life, the demands of farmers are not easy, right? And then the inherent challenges with resource allocation within, retailers, right? I mean, there's not unlimited CapEx dollars that go around. There's not unlimited, hours in a day and things like that. And so what we were experiencing was people were looking for a better life, right? A better work-life balance. They don't want to put up with those hours. They didn't want to work all weekend, every weekend, right? And they didn't want to have their phone on them, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But yet farmers need that, right? And so what was happening was, we would have people that would retire early or move on to, basic manufacturers or whatever the case may be, looking for a better life. And what happened was those long tenure relationships or just relationships in general was leaving with them, right? And so we would have to replace those folks with non-seasoned people. And so what would happen is we were churning a lot of business because farmers were, like I've got relationships that your competitors that are still ingrained, right? And so it's going to take me some time to warm up to these new people coming on board. And so that was a real challenge for me. And then it was really more of, the co-op, the co-op system was designed to be a way for farmers to be able to get their products efficiently at one place and have everything kind of, one-stop shop, right? And what happens is, in a lot of cases, we become siloed in our approach, right? Our green people do this, our energy people do this, our agronomy people do this, and there's not much collaboration amongst those teams. Not because it's intentional, it's just because people get focused on the things that they, naturally get focused to, right? And so I saw a lot of that happening too. And when Stephen, showed me this idea about the loyalty concept, I thought that this has some real traction, or this could create some real traction and be revolutionary for the industry. And so I felt like, if I could put my retail hat or in hands on a technology like that, what can we do with it? And so ultimately, that's how I ended up coming to Growers, because I really felt like there was a big opportunity to scale that.
And that's something, worth mentioning, talking about, teams helping teams type of thing. We talk about that all the time. Jackie and I, we talk weekly about that, with our teams and collaboration. And it's a benefit to us, I think, internally to be able to have that collaboration. But also, we were talking the other day that the way I try to explain it to guys is, when we come to a grower, we want them to, we feel like they are so important that they need more than one person.
Absolutely.
They need to have a team of people around them all the time. And if that's our real feeling and our goal, then the collaboration just happens, right?
Sure.
I'm an agronomy guy. I know nothing about the grain. Besides the basics of what, you pick up. And I don't want to give somebody bad advice or steer them in the wrong direction. Right. And ultimately, how they sell their grain is going to make a difference on how we purchase for this next year. So being able to surround somebody with a team and not have to field every question, talk about a better way of life. For me as a salesperson or, other salespeople, that's a huge deal to be able to take some of that burden off of them and say, hey, I got a team for this, right?
And then we took it one step further, right? So exactly what you were talking about, when they built that relationship with their salesperson, right, with their advisor, and then that person leaves, and now you're left with, well, who knows this grower? So we took it a step further, and we have a second person from within our business unit. So maybe, I'm the lead advisor on the grain side, but then I'll bring one of the other ladies in from our team to get to know them. So because I do enjoy my PTO, right? And also it's a great benefit for the grower. So if I'm crazy busy one day, they can't get a hold of me, they know exactly who to go to. So exactly what he said, that team approach.
Yeah, we've seen, you talk about retirements. We've seen where we've had some guys that have retired and they've had a good book of business for a long time, and they built these relationships, and they leave, and it's like, what are we gonna do? And thankfully, our culture here has allowed us to be able to move pretty easily forward. But there's always better ways that we can do it. And I think that's where a lot of this came into play with the Landmark Maxx program and working with you guys. It's so much more than just a loyalty points program. I mean, what some of the conversations that we've had in these meetings about, how do we just get these customers to feel more comfortable working with a team approach, and how does that help them? How does that benefit them? Is huge. And I think they're starting to feel that. I mean, and open up to it. So
Sure.
it's pretty neat to see that start to work.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'd say kudos to you guys, and I think that speaks to the leadership that you guys have in taking this team approach, right? Because I get the privilege of working with a lot of different retail organizations across the country since I came on to Growers, and I would just say there are retailers that we work with that do a really good job of that, but also say there are other retailers that I've seen that they do not, right? And really that team approach is first being driven by the leadership, right? The leadership's got to have that as an initiative, and then hold people accountable to doing that. And I think the leadership team here at Mercer Landmark is fantastic and does that. But if you think about just from a human psychology standpoint, I think the way you guys react to that team approach is maybe a little bit different or unique, in the sense that if you think about most of your salespeople in this industry, they think about a grower as that is their relationship, right? If they own the relationship, and therefore if they own the relationship, they are the face of the retailer to that farmer. And so in order to create this team approach, they got to be able to relinquish some of that control and some of that, I am the owner of the sole relationship between the retailer and this farmer, in order to allow their teammates to come in and support them. And they're always, I'll say always, I've seen people think, well, nobody can service that farmer like I can. And if I introduce this person to this farmer, how are they going to manage it? Are they going to do it just like I do? Because if they're not,
yes,
I'm not willing to support that relationship.
Yes.
Right.
And we've come across that as well, right? I mean, this is a culture change for us. This is something that we've really championed over the last few years, because especially in agriculture, you see that this is my customer. Where our view today is this is Mercer Landmark's customer, and we do want that whole team approach. I mean, because we have found it works so much better for the grower.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and honestly, I think the most successful retail organizations that I've seen does that, right? Not saying it's easy, but at least that is an initiative or campaign that they keep running all the time, right? And I think ultimately, long term, that's going to provide a lot of dividends. And so when you think about this, the loyalty program technology and basically how it helps serve that, mission or purpose, is when you think about most retail salespeople or operations people, it doesn't matter. We exist to serve the farmer, right? And for most of us in the industry that's been around for some time at least, we think about what the farmer needs before we think about anything else, right?
Yes.
And if you think about the inherent value that's being created with the loyalty program, and if you think about the farmer gets rewarded for doing more business in different segments, the first thing you think as a salesperson or someone that has a relationship with the farmer is, how do I maximize the benefits for my farmer? And I know that if I can't represent, my grain position very well, or if I can't represent energy very well, I'm an agronomy guy. What's the best alternative that I can provide?
That's right.
Right? It's a team approach at that point, because I want to make sure that the farmer's getting rewarded and maximizing their benefit. And so I'm going to let the expert in that part of the business represent us that way, right? And so I think from that standpoint, the technology helps facilitate that team approach in a way that makes sure the farmer can get the maximum benefit.
So having all the business units come together and working with the grower from the technology, I mean, how did that come about for you guys?
Well, I think this is something that if you look at every other industry outside of agriculture, this is something that's very common, right? These loyalty programs, the statistics show actually 92% of all retail companies now have a loyalty program, right? And so, why is that? If you think about it, just again outside of agriculture, these brands and these companies are trying to establish a connection between the consumer and their brand, right?
Yes.
And so in agriculture, we're a little bit unique in the fact that this is a very relationship-driven business, right? And so we've got multiple relationships going on from a retail perspective with each farmer, at least in your case, there is. And so this is something that is going to enhance those relationships, because science actually shows there's psychology in creating this connection between the brand and the farmer and the touch points that are associated with it, right? And so if you just take a very elementary example of Jackie, Troy, I don't know how many farmers you guys may be responsible for calling, or your salespeople have a responsibility for calling on any given time. But let's say they have 60 that they're responsible for maintaining a relationship for. Well, the likelihood of one person being able to have a meaningful conversation with 60 farmers in a month, maybe even a quarter, is probably highly unlikely. And so how can a company take technology and create valuable touch points to stay in front of those customers, right, with their brand and their strategy, right, for solutions for the farmer? And I think that's where the technology really comes into play. And I think other industries outside of agriculture has proven that there's a lot of value in being able to do that. And so that's probably the genesis of where the idea for this loyalty program in agriculture came from, just on a very high level. And then you wrap into the challenges that we face in retail today. I think that just kind of pronounces the need, or validates the need for additional technologies to support it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of talk around points. That's the go-to conversation piece, and I'm assuming all the growers listening to this have had conversations about what points they're accumulating and that kind of thing. And I think that one thing that we're trying to help guys to see too is we're trying to make you profitable. So as we can use those points on purchases that we would normally buy, and to help really get some of that down, it's also an opportunity for them to try new things, help push bushels, help make more profit, right? And that's kind of a unique thing, right, that we can do to help, besides outside of your normal discount schedule or whatever you're getting. And that helps with the salesperson to be able to have different conversations, especially right now in a tough time in farming. We might not want to bring up those conversations, even though we know that product is needed and we see a need for it that could really help somebody. This is an opportunity now to go above and beyond and say, I think you can use this. And also, you've accumulated these points, and it's not going to take anything out of your pocket.
Absolutely.
And that's pretty nifty.
Well, and I love what you just said there, Troy, because one of the biggest feedback items that we get when we introduce this program to other retailers is, I think my farmer is just going to tell me, I don't want this. I don't want a game to play. I don't want another program. We're inundated with programs. There's program fatigue out there, right? I just want the best price. Troy, just give me the best price and let's roll with that, right? And so the inherent challenge with just that concept in and of itself is the fact that if you're just thinking about giving me the best price, you're not interested in trying new things, right? Because what these points based systems allow the salesperson to do is introduce the farmer to different things that otherwise they probably wouldn't be willing to try, right? Not just focus on the same meat and potatoes type of things that they need, right? Even though that is an option as well with the Landmark Maxx program, is use those points on those meat and potato products too. But to your point, it gives the salesperson an element of, hey, I know you've never used a fungicide on your soybeans before or on your corn before, but we've got these points that you earned, right? Let's use some of that to reduce the friction for you to want to try it. And hey, who knows? Maybe you see the agronomic benefit, you see the yield enhancement, and then next year when it comes time to apply a fungicide or this foliar fertilizer, we don't even have to talk about the points because you saw the benefit by doing it.
Right. And oh, by the way, you're creating more points by spending your points.
Exactly right. Absolutely. Yeah. And so that is the other thing that I really, really appreciate about what the Mercer Landmark team has done with this program is they're not, you guys aren't changing the price. You're not increasing the price on the front side in order to be able to offer this on the back side. This truly is a thank you for doing business with Mercer Landmark, right? We realize as a team that you guys have options. All farmers have options to be able to purchase things from anybody, anywhere, right? Even online if they so choose. But you guys took the stance of, we're going to be proactive and we're going to thank you guys for doing your business. And oh, by the way, you don't have to do anything unnatural or inorganic in order to earn these points or maximize the program. We're not asking you to go out and buy things that you wouldn't otherwise buy, but we are asking you to say, hey, look, allow us to participate more on your farm. That seed, chemical, fertilizer, energy, other products that you are going to buy somewhere. We're just asking you to buy it from us in order to maximize the opportunity here. And so I love the way you guys went about that.
I think we just want growers to look at it and say, I do my business with Mercer Landmark, and this is an added value that I have.
Yep.
And that's as simple as it is, right?
Yep.
We thank you for doing that by doing this. We had the Agri Expo. That was a thank you for doing business with us. But this is something that just goes around all year, right? No matter how they interact with us, they're going to be rewarded for that. And I hope that's I don't know what you're seeing, but from what I hear, that's kind of the idea that guys are grasping to.
Yeah, absolutely. Because they don't have to do anything special, right? They're doing business with us. And so they're getting this in return in addition to, the relationships and the service that they're receiving from Mercer.
Yeah.
So, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say that's a win-win, right?
Yes.
Because, obviously we all know that the more business farmers do with Mercer Landmark provides more resources for Mercer Landmark, right? So we have to acknowledge that. But you guys are saying, hey, we're going to thank you for doing that too. We're not just going to take that for granted. That we're going to acknowledge that you are increasing your business with us.
Yeah.
By providing this.
Yeah, and the more resources that are available to us, the better we can serve them, which makes them want to do more business, and they do more business, and we get more resources. It's a relationship. That's what this whole conversation started off of, right? It's all about the relationship.
Absolutely.
And I think that really ties in. We call it our unified customer approach on how we get all business units involved with a grower or a customer, and it ties it in because every angle that you're doing business with us is tied into this program. So,
and something super simple, but something that I greatly appreciate. Your app is super simple. It's easy to use, manipulate, walk through. It's user friendly. And I'm looking at the exact same thing that my customer is looking at. So if he calls me up and he says, "Wait a minute, where am I at?" I literally can just pull up his name and I can see exactly what he sees on his smartphone, right? And I greatly appreciate that because it just makes it so much easier where I can say, okay, well, you see this gold line right here? This is what it means.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's simple to use, right? It's not another app that they have to have a password for. We send out a text that has a link in it. They're able to go to that link, see where they're at for that month or whatever, how often we send it. And okay, that's where I'm at. Maybe I'll use that on this next purchase, or maybe I'll try some fungicide. And it's not. That's the one thing we hear. I don't need another password to keep. So this is right in the right spot.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate that from both of you guys because we had to learn that the hard way at Growers, because we originally built an app. And we got all of about 8% of users actually like using it. And so what we found out was that the app fatigue is real,
Yes.
even for farmers, right? And so, this was a creative workaround where they didn't have to do that. And so I think that's the overwhelming feedback that we've gotten is farmers really appreciate the fact that they don't have to remember usernames, passwords. They just click the link, and a lot of them actually save the home, the dashboard to their home screen so they can access it, fairly easily, right?
Yes.
And it looks like an app at that point, but they don't have to, right? If they just want to wait on the text and click the link to view it, no harm, no foul.
Yeah, and your advisor's here to keep track of those and kind of help you strategically use those points when you need to. That's the neat part of it, right? You talked about touch points as an advisor, a salesperson, whatever. You have access to that at any time to keep track and kind of help them move along, and that's building that relationship even more.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
Yeah,
pretty-
because the more visibility you guys have, or your advisors have, and this whole process, the more efficient they're going to be, and the more efficient they can make the farmer, right? And that's what we're all ultimately striving for, is making sure that they understand the value that they're earning and creating by participating, and at the end of the day, we are lowering their cost per acre. And I think, guys, I mean, you guys live this every day, but I think 2026 is going to be, a challenging year.
Yes, it will be.
Yeah. And I think anything we can do, as a leadership team, as a retail organization, to help farmers get through that, I think it's going to be really beneficial. And that's why I love how you guys have doubled down on utilizing this kind of technology.
Yeah, and I think the exciting thing too, looking at the future, is we're just getting into this. I mean, there's so many possibilities on how we could utilize this for the growers' benefit, moving forward. And I think that's exciting to think about of what it could look like in 2, 3, 4 years from now.
Absolutely.
If you had, I guess, if there was a grower sitting in here today, a farmer in here today, and you had to give them your elevator speech on what Landmark Maxx is and why they should be involved with it, what would that be?
Yeah. The simple thing would just be, again, thank you for the business that you're doing with us, at Mercer Landmark, because I think ultimately that's the biggest thing that I want a farmer to understand is this is not taken away from anything they're already getting. This is in addition to that says, thank you so much for the business you're doing, right? And after that, it's really just about, how can we leverage it strategically to get you the opportunity to try different products that maybe you wouldn't have tried in the past, that enhances your yield, right? Because yield is a revenue multiplier, right? And we want to make sure that we're maxing that out, but lowering the cost or the friction to be able to do that, right? Because if we think about the commodity prices, if we think about the input costs in 2026, yield is going to be the only thing that wins the day, right? And so if we can make it easier for a farmer to adopt a new product, new practice that's going to enhance that, I think ultimately we're winning because we're making them better. So those are kind of the two things that I would want your farmer customers to understand about it.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think everybody should be excited about it.
I agree.
Pretty neat deal. Well, we're running out of time, I know, and we thank you for coming on.
Yes, thank
And
you.
Thank you guys for having me.
Come
It's
on
been great.
anytime. Anytime. If anybody's out there listening and they have questions about their growers or their Landmark Maxx points, I mean, reach out to your advisor, right? Grain advisor, any advisor.
Any one of us.
Yeah, we all have access to it.
Yes.
We'd love to be able to help you with that. And we look forward to building this relationship with you guys and continuing to move forward. And I think it's going to be good. It's going to be exciting. We're always looking for new things here. So,
Yeah, fantastic. Well, you guys have been a great partner for us. In fact, you guys have the thoughts, and the opinions and the suggestions, recommendations, feedback has all been very helpful from you guys in helping us implement this or scale this, to other retail.
we're definitely not afraid to raise our opinions if you haven't noticed. If it's not in the best interest of our growers, we will make sure.
You got that right.
Uh,
And that's what I appreciate
Yeah.
about Mercer Landmark.
yeah, it's been crazy to me to be in some of these meetings and someone does bring something up and you guys are like, yeah, we'll change it. And it's done. Like, that's just it. I mean, it's not like it's a cut and dry thing. We are altering this and fitting it to our customer base every time we meet. And that's pretty cool.
Yep. Great partnership.
Cool.
Excellent.
Well, thank you. And we'll be back here soon, hopefully, with another episode of Above the Mark.
Sounds great.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Above the Mark.
Be sure to follow us on Apple and Spotify along with YouTube, and we'll see you next time.